The Ohio Meadville District, back in the 70s, Bucky McKeeman, some of you might remember him, he was the minister at Akron, yay! He was the minister at University of Akron, Unitarian Universalist Church of Akron. And he saw there were a lot of lay-led congregations that didn't have ministers, and they were kind of drifting theologically. I believe one drifted to the point of actually having them preach hellfire and brimstone in the pulpit, an old Universalist church. So he recognized a need to take lay leaders in those congregations and give them the opportunity to get a little bit of theological understanding and training and things like that. So he started a program back in the 70s, and it's been going sometimes strong, sometimes not so strong. But right now it's a pretty vibrant program. We've tightened up the rules, just like the ministers and religious educators have tightened up their rules along the way. But it's an opportunity for lay leaders to be recognized by the district and their congregations. Again, this is in Ohio Meadville. So this program is congregation-centered. There's a person who wants to be a commissioned lay leader. Let's see what else I have up here. In order to apply to the program, they have to already be proven leaders in the congregation. It's quite often someone who served as a board chair or committee on ministry. And then what do you do next? Quite often our presidents leave afterward. There's not anything for them to do, or there's not a way to go deep. So we're looking for people who've already had experience in congregational leadership. They have to have a letter of agreement with their board of trustees. So what would be my role? What am I going to do? How am I going to serve the congregation in this role? Really lay out the roles and responsibilities of the commissioned lay leader once they're commissioned and during their training. It's an unpaid, part of it's a lay position, so it's an unpaid position. A lot of our lay leaders do perform weddings, and they charge for weddings just like the ministers do, but they aren't paid at all by the congregation. They might be paid or given professional expenses. So, for example, there's a commissioned lay leader, I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but there's a commissioned lay leader who serves as a chaplain at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Columbus. And he really works just about full-time, visiting members in nursing homes and things like that. And so they do cover his gas and his cell phone, because it's a pretty significant cost. But he doesn't actually get paid for the work. He does it as a volunteer. And then the commissioned lay leader program is a 3-year commissioning. So at the end of 3 years, the person has to reapply. It expires. And they can reapply as many times as they want, but it's an opportunity to again, the accountability piece, like how is it going? Do you want to change your focus? Are things working for you? Maybe it's time to step down. So the process today is, in order to become a commissioned lay leader, is there's an application and a sponsorship of the congregation. They have to give references, and then there's an initial interview with a district-wide commissioned lay leader committee. So I'm currently the chair of that in the Ohio Meadville District. So they come and they talk a little bit. We sort of get a sense of, they've already had some references, but we want to get a sense of who they are and what they're like and if they're a good candidate for the program. And then they're assigned a liaison to the committee who tracks their progress as they're working on going from the candidate status to a commission status. And they're also, and this is a really key part of this program, they're also assigned a mentor. And the mentor is always an ordained minister. So this particular program is a mentor-based program. It's not something that the mentor's relationship with the candidate is how most of the formation happens. So the actual training happens between the candidate and their mentor. There's a required reading list. If you go to the Ohio Meadville website, you can see the reading list there. It's pretty similar to the minister's reading list, but maybe half of the titles. The candidate's required to come up with a learning plan, which includes how they're going to serve. So let's say they want to specialize in worship. They may part of their learning plan might be going around and doing services at neighboring congregations. they might pursue additional academics. Some of our commission lay leaders have taken a seminary class or two. And also this just idea of experience and reflection. So they do things, they meet with their mentor, they talk about it. What does it mean to be, they're not professional ministers, but there's something that their relationship with the congregation is raised up a little bit. And we encourage similar boundaries that we do to other professional staff, such as we don't want them serving on the Board of Trustees necessarily. The committees that they would serve on would be in alignment with whatever their focus is as a commission lay leader. And then they're required to report into their liaison every quarter. So again, there's this accountability piece that's really important. Yes?
What are the roles and responsibilities that they might?
I'll get to that in just a second, yeah. So again, there's a reading list. Here's some sample titles. Again, they're similar to the ones that are on the minister's reading list. Okay, here we go. So there's different focus. Usually the commission lay leader is not a generalist the way a minister is, but they pick one, maybe two areas of interest. So the most popular ones are worship arts, possibly adult religious education. They might teach, have more training to teach classes, maybe be able to go a little bit deeper theologically. They perform rites of passage like weddings and memorial services. Pastoral care is another really popular focus for commission lay leaders. And also kind of like the membership coordinator kind of thing. A professional would be a membership coordinator, but some commission lay leaders look at how they can incorporate people into the life of the church, so they focus on that as a specialty. Does that answer your question? Yes?
Do you find it mostly back into their home congregation, or is this as you're getting ready to go someplace else?
No, this is only in their home congregation. So it's a relationship between them and their board. They have a covenant, and it's not transferable. So, and of course, it's only in the Ohio Meadville District right now. It may be in the St. Lawrence District coming up. As regionalization happens, who knows? And I can talk about that maybe a little bit during the question piece, or if you were interested in seeing about talking to your own district about doing something similar, we could talk offline. But that's what's happened with the St. Lawrence District. So anyway, there's a again, these are, I don't want to get too much into specifics since we're not actually doing this, but there's a code of ethics, there's a covenant, there's all of these accountability pieces that are embedded into the program. And the district board is actually the body, in our case, that legally says that the commissioning happens. So they get a certificate, and if they renew, then they get a letter saying the renewal happened. So they have documentation from the district to do this. It's a little bit, the ecclesiology doesn't match your congregational polity really well, but it's done what people need it to do for getting things like marriage licenses. And then even after their commission, there's accountability pieces. They're supposed to report into their liaison and then have, create new covenants with their church board as they might renew. So this was originally started for small congregations who may not be able to afford professional ministry or have lay members who want to get some more experience. They just love the church and they want to be deeper Unitarian Universalists. But there's also large congregations. Actually, I think we have more large congregation commission lay leaders right now than we do people like Deb who are by herself in a congregation. And they actually act like staff. And I've got a picture here. There's me. I'm not staff either. I'm an affiliated community minister since I work for the UUA. And this is Christy Anderson. She is the commission lay leader at my home congregation. So the minister, the music director, the religious educator, and then there's Christy and I on the page. So we're held up as staff, even though we have responsibilities and accountability as staff, even though we don't get a paycheck like staff. Yes.
And I noticed she's wearing a stole.
Yes, she is. She actually sought ordination elsewhere. Although for rites of passage, this is a geographic thing. That's another workshop. Or actually, maybe the Commission on Appraisal new book on authority might have something about that. But wearing a stole, it is not necessarily an ordained thing for different traditions. Some people are very strict about that, though. But
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
a used stole.
it's a new stole. And we, as a congregate, we want to stay within the UUA standards as far as ordination goes, and she doesn't want to pursue fellowship with the Unitarian Universalist Association. It's a lot to do, but our congregation recognizes her as a minister. So this is the bit where I have invited Deb Chaney to share her experience. So I've talked a little bit about the nuts and bolts, which is interesting, maybe helpful if you're pursuing it. But there's something about what happens to the person who is commissioned, becomes a commissioned lay leader. So I wanted Deb to tell a story of how it changed your life, right?
Thank you, Renee. Welcome, all of you. It's encouraging and heartwarming to see so many of you here with an interest in lay leadership, because it's something that's been of profound importance in my life and something which has fed me through many other ups and downs of life. It's been a wonderful source of support for me. Since my first finding of Unitarian Universalism, if you will, didn't grow up into it, I've always been envious of those who did. Since my first finding Unitarian Universalism, I was a very staunch advocate and promoter and spokesperson. And I quickly found a place at the pulpit in my congregation. They welcomed me. They created space for that. At that time, we even did have a minister. Was not an ordained UU minister, but however was I think a United Church of Christ minister I was at that time. But one of the things that then they allowed me to do, as I had taken on more worship things and leading in that way, we had in our community for naturalization, they have Law Week, and they do naturalization of foreign-born citizens several times a year. But the one time of the year they added on to Law Week, and they celebrate the big event that it is. And they have a ceremony in a very prestigious theater in our town, an old, wonderful theater with the sky on the roof and ceiling and all that. And they had a benediction and a recessional. The opening prayer. What am I trying to think of? Invocation. Thank you. Invocation and benediction. And they rotate the churches that they invite to take part in that. And it just so happened, probably within a year or two of my being a member and jumping in with both feet, that it was the honor of our congregation to take part in that. So, and I had the envious role of doing the benediction, so I got to close up the show. So it was very wonderful. And I searched for a prayer that I thought would say all that I wanted it to, and that reflected our values, but yet still had a part of me in it. Read lots of stuff, couldn't quite find something that said what I wanted it to, so I wrote something and I presented it. And there was something profound for me that took place in the writing and the sharing and the researching of that story, and particularly of the sharing of that prayer, and then publishing in our monthly newsletter, sharing that prayer with our congregation as well. And what I found in that process was there was something about being open, about sharing it publicly, about saying it out loud, and there was a bit of living it out loud that I hadn't done before, that expanded outside the doors of our congregation. And that was moving to me. And I think that really started me, unbeknownst to me at the time, on the path of pursuing leadership, pursuing lay leadership within our congregation. I went through the process that Renee explained. She explained it, I think, pretty well. I hope it was clear. There is an approval involved. It isn't just something that you go through the hoops of, because you need support and approval all along the way. You need the support and approval of your home congregation before you ever turn your paperwork into the district. You need the district. They approve your process of pursuing commissioned lay leadership during those years where you're studying and being mentored. Then they also approve your completion of the process. So there are if you will, 3 steps of approval along the way, and then obviously every 3 years you do that all over again, documenting the support both of your congregation, your home congregation, and the district, the commission, the lay leadership committee within your home district. So I want to make clear that it's not just something that we self-proclaim ourselves to be, that there is definitely that accountability and mentoring process that enables us to pursue that. It is something that has fed me, as I said. My areas have been areas of worship primarily. That's something that I have felt called to and moved to do. I do share my worship services with other congregations inside our district. We have a guest in your pulpit. I don't know if other districts do that, but at ours we have a site on our district website that's a guest in your pulpit where people can list services or list themselves to be considered for doing services for other congregations. Let me see, what else did I want to say? There's a responsibility that comes with leadership as well, certainly. There's transparency and accountability. In my sense, and I think in the sense of the whole commission lay leadership model, there's accountability, I think, in 2 areas. One, you enter into a covenant with your board and your congregation, where that's not an implicit covenant. That's an ink and paper covenant that's understood and agreed to and signed by your board president. Also, I serve as an ex officio member of the Committee on Shared Ministries, so that body also allows me to report to them and what I'm doing, and so everyone's on the same page. So there's a transparency about what's involved. Some of the other things that I've had the pleasure of being involved in as a commission lay leader is representing our congregation at an interfaith community Thanksgiving services this past year. I was very privileged and honored to be a part of that. And for the person who asked about did we wear a stole, I wore a stole, and there are occasions where I have. I am certainly by all means not trying to pass myself as anything other than what I am, a lay leader. But however, I have gone through a process, a formal process within our district that gives me a title and a privilege, excuse me, and there are occasions where a stole, I think, gives status, if you will, to our denomination, to our faith, and to our leaders. And I believe it's appropriate. I would never wear a stole on anything that I was doing personally that I was not representing my congregation and my faith. So just to be clear about that. Yes, question.
Can we have some size, a sense of size of the congregation?
The congregation that I serve probably has 50 to 55 active members right now. Yes. We're very well established. We're very committed. We're very active. And the lay leadership works well for us.
Okay.
Yes, question.
I guess, I'm from Florida, so all this is kind of foreign. And I'm not really sure we're ever going to get into commission lay leaders. And I was really more interested in the nuts and bolts of what actually you do. And I mean, that would, so that I can, it's not, I'm currently the president. I'm actually just trying to take information back to, some of the people, the program committee chair and all this other. So I'm actually interested in the nuts and bolts, and maybe you're getting into that.
Yeah, that'll be the second.
Okay.
Well, when I see lay leadership, my personal take on it is, and Renee can certainly share her piece, which I expect to be a little different, is lay leadership is a way I see for those of us who feel called to do so, to lead a congregation in a way that is not political. I don't have aspirations to be a board president. I've not served in that capacity. I've been extremely active within my congregation and have served in all different areas, worn different committee hats. But this allows me a way to lead, we're talking about the teachable heart, a way to lead from the heart. It's what I can bring in a way that guides our actions and our activities and our worship in a way that I feel strongly is mirroring and honoring our principles.
We'll have time for questions at the end. So, is there anything else? Okay, excellent, thank you. We'll probably the questions. I want to spend some time on that. So I wanted to share, this is a model that's been working really well in the Ohio Meadville District, and again, it's, and we've had other districts interested in doing something similar.